It's very clear that we not only have the largest population but also the largest population of a certain demographic age profile. Uh, is that something that worries you, or do you think there is still scope in the demographic dividend theory that we have heard for so many years?
Oh, I think that's it. These fears being raised, I do not understand. There are two questions here: composition of the population, age group composition, and the size. So as far as composition is concerned, won't you want a younger rather than older population? What does younger population offer you? Larger workforce, and since they are working, the younger generation saves, whereas older one largely spends. It dissaves. Right, so the larger younger population means both larger supply of labor as well as larger volume of savings, and of course, younger population is also participant in all kind of innovations that happen. So composition wise, the only downside people sometimes point out is unemployment, but unemployment doesn't depend on the composition of workforce. It depends on your policies, and we know that in India, our employment rate has been, largely 3 to 5% at the most. That's the widest possible range. There was 1 year when it went to 6, but that's unusual. The problem we have in terms of this composition is that the productivity per worker. So problem is not unemployment but underemployment. Underemployment meaning low productivity per worker. Now this has been rising. Productivity per worker is no question. Post-reform era, it's been rising, but it needs to be accelerated further. There is no doubt, and we talked about the reforms, etc., that need to be done for that. But certainly remember, our productivity per worker when population became younger, it did not decline, it only went up. So at least correlation wise, you cannot pin anything on the younger composition of the workforce. The other part of it is the size. And again, size actually offers lots of advantages. I mean, I'll just use one example, which is the digital platform. Right? Once you create the digital platform, it's available to everybody. You can add another user to it, cost doesn't go up. So per unit cost of provision of the digital infrastructure declines progressively with the size, how many people join in. That is on the cost side. On the benefit side, look at that, when more people actually join the digital infrastructure, its utility to each user increases, right? And if there are only 10 other people who are on the platform, I can interact, I can do transactions only with those 10. But if there are a million, then I can transact with a million different people, my opportunities rise, and also both on the cost and benefit side, size offers enormous big advantages. And that argument applies to all other infrastructure. You build a road, it's there for everybody else to use. Not only, then the network also, you build a highway, the utility of highway begins to rise as you connect more and more villages around it through connecting roads, the last mile connectivity. So size also generally offers you a bigger advantage. Where I think it has disadvantaged us is the fixity of land. Land is fixed, and we have too many people in agriculture. So the land holdings have become smaller and smaller over time, which is, of course, also translates into lower productivity, ceteris paribus, other things held constant, per worker. And that is a problem, of course, which we need to solve, because 45% of the workforce should not be in agriculture. An economy that is on the go for 8 or 9% growth needs to pull these workers out of agriculture into industry and services. That is an ongoing process. That's something we need to focus on, regardless, whether our workforce becomes even larger or not is not an issue. Even in the current scenario, it is essential for us to move these workers out of a large part of this workforce out of agriculture into industry and services. I think that other than that, neither size nor the younger composition is to be scoffed at. It is to be welcomed. So I personally see this absolutely no contrast. I mean, in terms of arguments on whether this is a good or bad. To me, or even taking into account some of the negatives I pointed out, the positives far outweigh. And by the way, our influence in the global economy would also be in the next 20-30 years going to be that much more magnified, because who else is going to provide the workforce to the rest of the global economy? Not China, not Europe, not the United States. They're all going to need more workers. We are the only ones actually who are in a position to provide more workers. It's not an accident that so many Indians now are all over the globe today. I mean, this is a phenomenon which has, manifested itself in the last 25 years around the globe. But, no matter how anti-immigrant a country gets and all, you would see that the demand pull is so strong because of the aging population. Look at even a country like Japan, which used to be so closed, is now feeling that there's no alternative. So some gradual opening up even in Japan has happened already, and is going to perhaps continue. So whereas in the countries that are more welcoming, such as the United States, particularly Canada, Australia, I think Indian workers will migrate gradually to these areas, and that would only make India more influential globally.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.